What Officer Marcus Pemberton didn't know, what he couldn't have known, because he never bothered to ask, never bothered to verify, never bothered to do the most basic level of due diligence that separates law enforcement from armed intimidation, was that the drug house he was attempting to raid without a warrant, without probable cause, and without backup was home to the Harrison family. Not just any family. A family where the father was a 22-year veteran of the FBI's Financial Crimes Division, where the mother was a senior analyst with the Bureau's counterterrorism unit, where the oldest daughter was a forensic accountant on loan to a federal task force, where the son, home from college, was interning with the U.S. Marshals Service. 4 federal agents. Within 72 hours, Pemberton's body camera footage would be viewed 47 million times. Within 6 months, the city would settle with the Harrison family for $850,000. But on that Tuesday evening in August, standing on a front porch in suburban Maryland, with his hand on his weapon and his ego on full display, Marcus Pemberton had no idea his career was already over. He just didn't know it yet. Marcus Harrison, 48, 22 years with the Federal Bureau of Investigation, 17 commendations, 3 Director's Awards. A man who'd built his career on asking the right questions and following the evidence wherever it led. A man who was about to ask Officer Marcus Pemberton a lot of very uncomfortable questions. Before we continue, where are you watching from? This happened in Prince George's County, Maryland. But these confrontations happen everywhere. Hit subscribe and drop your location in the comments. Let's see how far this story reaches. Woodmore, Maryland. August 17th, 2024, 6:38 p.m. The subdivision sits just outside the Capitol Beltway, a planned community of brick colonials and manicured lawns that sprang up in the late 1992 when the tech boom brought new money to the D.C. suburbs. Tree-lined streets, HOA regulations, basketball hoops in driveways, the kind of neighborhood where people commute to federal buildings and come home to sprinkler systems and neighborhood watch signs. The Harrison house sits on 2-lane drive, a cul-de-sac where the median home value hovers around $680,000. It's a 2-story colonial with black shutters, a 2-car garage, and solar panels installed 3 years ago. The front lawn is healthy but not obsessive. There's a Nationals flag by the front door, a recycling bin at the curb, a protected by ADT sticker in the window. Normal. Boring. Exactly what you'd expect. From a street where half the residents have security clearances and the other half are attorneys. On this particular Tuesday evening, the temperature is 84 degrees. The humidity makes it feel like 91. The sun is starting its descent, casting long shadows across the pavement. Most people on the street are home from work. You can hear air conditioners humming. Someone down the block is grilling. A dog barks intermittently. Inside the Harrison home, the family is sitting down to dinner. Grilled chicken, Caesar salad, roasted vegetables. The kind of meal you throw together on a weeknight when everyone's schedule finally aligns. Marcus Harrison has changed out of his suit into a polo shirt. His wife, Nicole, is still in her work clothes, slacks, and a blouse because she got home 15 minutes ago. Their daughter, Alicia, 25, is visiting for the week between assignments. Their son, Jordan, 20, is home from Howard University for the summer. 4 people. 4 federal law enforcement careers at various stages, 1 dinner table. The doorbell rings at 6:38 p.m. Marcus wipes his hands on a napkin and walks to the front door. Through the beveled glass, he can see a figure on the porch. Dark uniform, badge visible. Alone. He opens the door to find Officer Marcus Pemberton, 34, of the Prince George's County Police Department, standing with his hand resting on his duty belt. And that's when everything goes wrong. Marcus Harrison was born in Baltimore in 1976, the youngest of 3 children raised by a postal worker, father, and a nurse mother in a row house on the east side. He watched his older brother get caught up in the drug trade in the late 82nds. He watched him go to prison at 19 for distribution, and decided early that he wanted to be on the other side of that equation. He graduated from Morgan State University in 1998 with a degree in accounting, top 10% of his class. He'd already taken the civil service exam, already had his application in with the FBI, already decided that if he was going to wear a badge, it would be federal. He was accepted into the Bureau in January 1999, just shy of his 23rd birthday. Quantico. 16 weeks of training. Firearms qualification. Defensive tactics. Constitutional law. He graduated in the top quarter of his class and was assigned to the Baltimore Field Office, Financial Crimes Division. For the next 22 years, Marcus Harrison built a reputation as one of the Bureau's most meticulous investigators. He worked mortgage fraud cases during the housing crisis. He tracked cryptocurrency schemes. He testified before grand juries in 14 states. He trained younger agents on forensic accounting. He received 3 Director's Awards, the Bureau's highest internal honor for cases that resulted in major convictions. By 2024, he was a GS-14, supervising a team of 7 agents working complex financial crime cases across the Mid-Atlantic region. His annual salary was $142,000. His security clearance was top secret. His personnel file contained 0 disciplinary actions and 17 letters of commendation. He and Nicole had been married for 23 years. They'd met at a law enforcement conference in 2001. She was a young analyst with the Bureau's counterterrorism division. He was presenting on money laundering patterns. They bought the house in Woodmore in 2009, right after the market crashed, when prices were low and their combined federal salaries made them attractive to lenders. Their daughter, Alicia, followed in their footsteps. Johns Hopkins undergraduate, master's in forensic accounting from George Washington. She'd spent 3 years with the IRS Criminal Investigation Division before being detailed to a federal task force investigating international fraud networks. At 25, she already had a higher security clearance than most people achieve in a lifetime. Their son, Jordan, was a junior at Howard, majoring in criminal justice. He'd spent the summer interning with the U.S. Marshals Service, learning fugitive apprehension protocols and court security procedures. He was on track to apply to the FBI Academy after graduation. This was a family that understood law enforcement, that respected the badge, that knew the difference between legitimate authority and abuse of power. On August 17th, Marcus had spent the day in depositions related to a $40 million Ponzi scheme case. He'd left the office at 5:15 p.m., driven home through rush hour traffic, and walked through the door at 6:20 p.m., looking forward to a quiet evening with his family. He had no idea that an officer from the county police department had received an anonymous tip about a drug house on his street. Had no idea that the officer had driven past his home twice that afternoon. Had no idea that the officer had decided, without any corroborating evidence, without any surveillance, without any consultation with supervisors, that the tip was credible enough to justify a knock and talk. Marcus Harrison just wanted to eat dinner with his family. Instead, he was about to give Officer Marcus Pemberton a masterclass in constitutional law. Officer Marcus Pemberton joined the Prince George's County Police Department in 2016, fresh out of the academy at 26 years old. He'd grown up in southern Maryland, the son of a car dealership manager and a real estate agent. He'd played football in high school, done 2 years at community college, decided law enforcement looked more exciting than sales. The academy was 13 weeks. His evaluations noted enthusiasm and confidence, but also flagged tendency to escalate and needs improvement on de-escalation techniques. He was assigned to patrol in District 4, covering a section of suburban Prince George's County that included both working-class neighborhoods and affluent subdivisions. His first year was unremarkable. Routine traffic stops, noise complaints, minor arrests. But by year 2, a pattern started to emerge. In May 2018, Pemberton was named in a formal complaint after he detained a black teenager for suspicious behavior outside a grocery store. The teenager was waiting for his mother. The complaint was sustained, meaning the department found merit, but Pemberton received only a written reprimand. In September 2019, he was involved in a use-of-force incident during a traffic stop where he pulled a driver from a vehicle after the driver questioned why he was being pulled over. The driver filed a complaint. The department found the force within policy, but recommended additional de-escalation training. In February 2021, Pemberton was accused of conducting an illegal search of a vehicle during a routine stop. The driver was released without charges after the search yielded nothing. The complaint went nowhere because the driver didn't follow up. In June 2022, he was named in a lawsuit later settled by the county after he arrested a woman for disorderly conduct when she filmed him during a stop. The arrest was later dismissed. The woman received $15,000 from the county. In November 2023, Pemberton was involved in another confrontation when he attempted to enter a residence without a warrant, based on what he claimed was an exigent circumstance. He said he smelled marijuana. The residents filed a complaint. The department found no policy violation, but noted in his file that Pemberton needed to exercise better judgment regarding warrant requirements. 5 incidents in 8 years, 5 complaints, 5 instances where citizens felt their rights were violated. 5 cases where Pemberton's interpretation of his authority exceeded what the law actually permitted. None of it resulted in serious discipline, written reprimands, mandatory training, a settlement paid by taxpayers. But Pemberton kept his badge, kept his gun, kept his patrol assignment. His supervisors noted the pattern. They discussed it in performance reviews. They recommended additional training. But they never removed him from the street, never placed him in a role where he couldn't interact with the public, never seriously questioned whether someone with this track record should be wearing a badge. By August 2024, Pemberton was a veteran officer with 8 years on the force. He'd been involved in hundreds of calls. He knew the policies. He'd been through the training. He understood the Fourth Amendment, at least in theory. But understanding and application are 2 different things. On August 17th, Pemberton received an anonymous call on the department's tip line. The caller claimed there was drug activity at a house on Tulane Drive in Woodmore. No specifics, no names, no corroborating details. Just an address and an accusation. Pemberton didn't run the address, didn't check property records, didn't call for backup, didn't consult with a supervisor, didn't apply for a warrant. He just got in his cruiser and drove to the address. Because in his 8 years of policing, Marcus Pemberton had learned that he could usually get away with it. Do you think officers with 5 prior complaints should be allowed to continue making arrests without additional oversight? Drop your answer below. The door opens at 6:38 p.m. Marcus Harrison stands in the doorway, 6'1", wearing a polo shirt and khakis, holding a napkin. He's calm, neutral expression, the demeanor of someone who's answered unexpected doorbells 1,000 times. Pemberton doesn't introduce himself, doesn't ask Harrison's name, doesn't explain why he's there. He just starts talking. We've received reports of drug activity at this address. Marcus pauses, looks at the officer, looks at the patrol car in his driveway, looks back at the officer. I'm sorry, what? Drug activity. This residence. We need to conduct a search. Marcus's expression doesn't change, but something shifts in his posture. He's no longer a homeowner answering his door. He's an FBI agent processing a procedural violation. Officer. What's your name? Pemberton. Officer Pemberton. Do you have a warrant? I don't need a warrant. We have probable cause based on the complaint. This is where experience meets ignorance. Marcus Harrison has executed search warrants. He's testified about Fourth Amendment requirements in federal court. He's trained agents on the legal standards for warrantless entry. He knows exactly what probable cause means. He knows exactly what exigent circumstances require. And he knows, with absolute certainty, that an anonymous tip about a suburban house where a family is eating dinner doesn't meet either standard. No, you don't. You need a warrant. You can apply for one through a judge. But you're not entering this property without one. Pemberton's jaw tightens. His hand moves to his belt. Sir. Step aside. No. Inside the house, Nicole Harrison hears the tone shift. She walks to the door, stands behind her husband. She's still in her work clothes. Her FBI credentials are in her purse on the hall table. Is there a problem? Ma'am, we're conducting an investigation. Nicole looks at Marcus. Marcus looks at Nicole. 23 years of marriage. Both federal agents. Both thinking the same thing. This is about to get very interesting. Marcus turns back to Pemberton. Officer, I'm going to need your badge number. You don't need my badge number. Actually, I do. You're on my property making demands without a warrant. I have every right to know who you are. Pemberton's face is reddening now. His hand is still on his belt. He takes a step forward. I'm authorized to enter this premises based on credible information. No, you're not. An anonymous tip doesn't constitute probable cause for a warrantless search of a residence. You should know this. Did you not cover the Fourth Amendment in the academy? This is where arrogance becomes accusation. Pemberton is not used to being challenged. He's used to people stepping aside, used to compliance, used to his uniform carrying weight that ends conversations. He's not used to someone who knows the law better than he does. You're obstructing a police investigation. I'm exercising my constitutional rights. That's protected. Now, for the third time, I need to see a warrant, or I need you to leave. By now, Alicia and Jordan have come to the door. 4 people, 4 federal credentials, all watching this unfold. Pemberton sees the audience. Put the phone down. Jordan is filming. He's not putting anything down. No, sir. We're documenting this interaction. Pemberton's hand moves to his weapon. Not drawing it, just resting there. A gesture meant to intimidate. This is where assumptions become danger. I have reason to believe there's illegal activity in this house. You either let me in, or I'm calling for backup and we're coming in anyway. Nicole steps forward now. She's calm, professional. The voice she uses when briefing senior officials at the Bureau. Officer, I'm going to tell you something that's going to save you a lot of trouble. My husband is a supervisory special agent with the FBI. I'm a senior analyst with the FBI. My daughter is a federal forensic accountant. My son is interning with the U.S. Marshals Service. We are federal law enforcement. All of us. And what you're attempting to do right now is a Fourth Amendment violation that will end your career. Pemberton blinks. I don't care who you claim to be. I have a job to do. Then do it legally. Get a warrant. I don't need a warrant. This is where Pemberton makes his fatal mistake. He reaches for his radio. I'm calling for backup. We're entering this residence. Marcus's voice drops. Not louder, quieter. The tone of someone who's done negotiating. Call whoever you want. But I'm calling your supervisor. And then I'm calling the county police chief. And then I'm calling the U.S. Attorney's office. Because what you're doing right now is a federal civil rights violation. Pemberton freezes. His hand is on the radio. He's looking at 4 people who don't look scared. Don't look intimidated. Look like they're already 3 steps ahead of him. Across the street, neighbors are watching. Mrs. Chen on her porch. The Johnsons in their driveway. 3 houses down, someone is recording on their phone. This isn't a dark alley. This isn't a traffic stop on a lonely road. This is a residential cul-de-sac in broad daylight with witnesses everywhere. And Pemberton is starting to realize he's made a terrible miscalculation. You're refusing to comply with a lawful order. There's no lawful order. There's you on my property, without a warrant, making threats. That's called trespassing. That's called harassment. And if you don't leave right now, I'm placing you under citizen's arrest for violating my civil rights. Pemberton's face goes white. You can't arrest me. Actually, I can. Maryland law allows for citizen's arrest when a felony is committed in the presence of the arrestor. Civil rights violations under color of law are felonies. You're committing one right now. So you have 2 choices. You can leave, or you can wait for your supervisor to arrive and explain to him why you attempted to conduct a warrantless search of a federal agent's home based on an anonymous tip you never bothered to verify. This is where the power dynamic inverts completely. For 8 years, Marcus Pemberton has relied on the weight of his uniform, the authority of his badge, the assumption that when he shows up, people comply. But Marcus Harrison isn't people. He's a federal agent with 22 years of experience who has forgotten more about criminal procedure than Pemberton ever learned. And Pemberton knows it now. His hand drops from his radio. He takes a step back. I'm reporting this. Please do. I'll make sure my attorney has the full recording. Pemberton stands there for another 5 seconds. Pride battling with survival instinct. He wants to save face, wants to reassert authority, wants this to end differently than it's ending. But he's smart enough barely to recognize when he's lost. He turns and walks back to his cruiser. Marcus Harrison watches him go. Doesn't close the door. Just watches. Pemberton gets in his car. Sits there for a moment. Then starts the engine and backs out of the driveway. He's gone by 6:47 p.m. The entire confrontation lasted 9 minutes. Marcus closes the door, looks at his family. Nicole is already on her phone, texting her supervisor at the bureau. Alicia is uploading the video to a secure server. Jordan is still filming. Dad, that was insane. Marcus nods slowly. Yeah, that was a lawsuit. The call comes at 7:02 p.m. Not to the Harrisons, to Sergeant Linda Morrison, a 19-year veteran of the Prince George's County Police Department and Pemberton's shift supervisor. She's finishing paperwork when her phone rings. It's the deputy chief. Linda, we have a problem. By 7:15 p.m., Morrison is in her cruiser heading to Woodmore. By 7:20, she's pulling up to the Harrison house. By 7:22, she's standing on the same porch where Pemberton stood 44 minutes earlier. Marcus answers the door again. Morrison is older, professional, wearing sergeant's stripes, and an expression that says she already knows this is bad. Mr. Harrison? I'm Sergeant Morrison. I understand there was an incident with one of my officers earlier this evening. Marcus nods. Holds up his phone. There was. It's all recorded. Would you like to see it? They sit in the living room. Marcus, Nicole, Alicia, Jordan, and Sergeant Morrison. The video plays on the TV. 9 minutes of Pemberton attempting to violate the Fourth Amendment while being calmly dismantled by people who actually understand the law. Morrison watches without expression. Then she speaks. Mr. Harrison, Mrs. Harrison, I apologize. This should not have happened. Officer Pemberton will be placed on administrative leave immediately pending an investigation. I can assure you this will be taken very seriously. Nicole leans forward. Sergeant, with respect, this isn't the first time Officer Pemberton has been involved in this kind of incident. We've already pulled his complaint history. 5 incidents in 8 years. This is a pattern. Morrison nods slowly. I'm aware of his file, and I can tell you that as of tonight, he will not be conducting any more traffic stops, any more knock and talks, any more interactions with the public until this is resolved. She stands. Hands Marcus her card. If you decide to file a formal complaint, and I think you should please contact me directly. I will personally ensure it's investigated thoroughly. We're doing more than filing a complaint, Marcus says. We're filing a lawsuit against Officer Pemberton and the department. For civil rights violations, Morrison doesn't flinch. That's your right. She walks to the door. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. You deserve better than this. After she leaves, the Harrison family sits in silence for a moment. Then Marcus picks up his phone and calls his attorney. The lawsuit is filed by Friday. Do you think police departments should be held financially accountable when officers with documented complaint histories violate citizens' rights? Comment below. The video goes viral within 24 hours. Not the official body camera footage that's tied up in the investigation, but Jordan's phone recording. 9 minutes of a county police officer attempting to illegally enter a federal agent's home while being systematically educated on constitutional law. By Wednesday evening, it has 2 million views on X. FBI agent thwarts. Illegal raid on his own home. The Washington Post. Maryland officer suspended after attempting warrantless search of federal agent's residence. Baltimore Sun. Viral video shows officer's constitutional crisis at Woodmore home. The Prince George's County Police Department issues a statement on Friday afternoon. We are aware of an incident that occurred on August 17th involving one of our officers. The officer has been placed on administrative leave, pending a thorough investigation. We take allegations of misconduct seriously and are committed to maintaining the highest standards of professional conduct. The statement is carefully worded, but everyone knows who they're talking about. By Monday, the story has reached national outlets. CNN runs a segment, NPR covers it, The Daily Show makes a joke about it. By Wednesday, August 28th, 11 days after the incident, Marcus Pemberton receives a notice from the department. He's being formally charged with attempted unlawful entry, violation of department policies regarding search and seizure, failure to exercise proper judgment, conduct unbecoming an officer. His hearing is scheduled for September 15th. He doesn't make it that far. On September 6th, Pemberton submits his resignation. The department accepts it immediately. His personnel file is stamped, resigned in lieu of termination. His career in law enforcement is over. Meanwhile, the lawsuit moves forward. Marcus Harrison's attorney files a comprehensive complaint in federal court. It names Officer Pemberton individually. It names the Prince George's County Police Department. It names the county itself. The claims: Fourth Amendment violation, attempted unlawful search. Fifth Amendment violation, deprivation of liberty without due process. 14th Amendment violation, selective enforcement. Intentional infliction of emotional distress. False arrest, threatened. Civil rights violations under 42 U.S.C. Section 1983. The damages requested: unspecified, but the filing notes severe emotional distress, invasion of privacy, and ongoing harm to the family's sense of security in their own home. The county attorney reviews the case, reviews the video, reviews Pemberton's complaint history, reviews the potential jury reaction to a family of federal agents being harassed in their own home by a county officer with a documented pattern of rights violations. On November 12th, 3 months after the incident, the county makes an offer. Full settlement, no admission of guilt, confidentiality clause regarding the amount but not the incident. Agreement to implement enhanced training on Fourth Amendment requirements for all patrol officers. The Harrisons' attorney recommends they take it. They do. The settlement is finalized on December 3rd, 2024. $850,000 paid by taxpayers because one officer couldn't be bothered to get a warrant. But the money isn't the point. On December 10th, Marcus Harrison receives a letter from the Prince George's County Police Chief. It's an apology, not a form letter, not a public statement, a personal, detailed letter, acknowledging that what happened to his family was unacceptable, acknowledging that the department failed, acknowledging that changes need to be made. The letter concludes, "What occurred at your residence on August 17th represents a failure of training, supervision, and accountability. You and your family deserved better. The community deserves better. We are implementing changes to ensure this does not happen again. Thank you for your service to our country and for holding us accountable when we fell short of our obligations." Marcus frames the letter, not because it fixes anything, but because it's evidence that sometimes, when you push back against abuse of power, the system actually responds. Sometimes. Do you think a written apology is enough? Or should departments face stricter consequences when officers violate rights? Let us know in the comments. On January 15th, 2025, the Prince George's County Council holds a hearing on police reform. It's part of a broader initiative following several high-profile incidents in the county, including the Harrison case. Marcus Harrison is invited to testify. He appears in a suit. Calm. Professional. He's testified in federal court dozens of times. This is different. This is personal. The transcript. My name is Marcus Harrison. I'm a supervisory special agent with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. I've executed hundreds of search warrants. I've made thousands of arrests. I know the law. I know procedure. I know what legitimate law enforcement looks like. What happened to my family on August 17th wasn't law enforcement. Officer Pemberton came to my home without a warrant, without probable cause, without any corroborating evidence. He demanded entry. He threatened arrest. He put his hand on his weapon when we refused to comply. Think about that. A police officer threatening a family in their own home. Not because we committed a crime, not because there was evidence of a crime, but because someone made an anonymous phone call. Now imagine if my family didn't know the law. Imagine if we weren't federal agents. Imagine if we were just regular citizens who assumed that when an officer shows up at your door and demands entry, you have to comply. How many families has this happened to? How many people have had their rights violated because they didn't know they could say no? How many illegal searches have occurred because officers like Pemberton know that most people won't push back? This isn't about one bad apple. This is about a system that allowed Officer Pemberton to accumulate 5 complaints in 8 years without serious consequences. That allowed him to remain on patrol. That allowed him to keep making stops, keep making demands, keep violating rights. My family is fine. We had the knowledge and resources to fight back. But what about the families who don't? That's why I'm here today. Not for me. For every person in this county who deserves to feel safe in their own home, who deserves to have their rights protected, not violated, by the people sworn to serve them. We need mandatory body cameras. We need independent oversight of complaints. We need real consequences for officers who violate policy. And we need training, real training, on constitutional rights, not just use of force. Because if an FBI agent with 22 years of experience can have his rights violated in his own home, in broad daylight, with witnesses everywhere, then no one is safe. Thank you. The council chamber is silent when he finishes. 3 council members ask questions, all supportive, all acknowledging that changes need to be made. 6 weeks later, the county passes a police reform package. It includes mandatory body cameras for all patrol officers, independent review board for excessive force complaints, enhanced training on Fourth Amendment requirements, policy requiring supervisor approval for all residential searches without warrants, public database of sustained complaints against officers. It's not perfect. It's not comprehensive, but it's something. And it wouldn't have happened without Marcus Harrison refusing to let Officer Pemberton walk into his home. Do you think body cameras should be mandatory for all police officers, with footage automatically preserved for complaints? Here's what the Harrison case reveals about law enforcement in America. Officer Marcus Pemberton wasn't an anomaly. He was a product. 5 complaints in 8 years. 5 documented instances where citizens felt their rights were violated. And every single time, the system gave him another chance. Written reprimands, remedial training, settlements paid by taxpayers while Pemberton kept his badge and his gun. That's not accountability. That's enabling. The real question isn't why Pemberton tried to illegally enter the Harrison home. The real question is, what made him think he could get away with it? And the answer is simple. Because he had gotten away with it before. In 2018, when he detained a teenager for waiting for his mother, he got a written reprimand. In 2019, when he used excessive force during a traffic stop, he got more training. In 2021, when he conducted an illegal search, nothing happened because the victim didn't follow up. In 2022, when he arrested someone for filming him, the county paid $15,000 and Pemberton kept working. The system taught him that consequences were minimal, that supervisors would protect him. So when he got an anonymous tip about a house in Woodmore, why would he bother getting a warrant? Why would he check property records? Why would he do the basic work that legitimate law enforcement requires? He'd built a career on cutting corners, on assuming compliance, on using his badge as a weapon instead of a responsibility. What he didn't count on was accountability. Marcus Harrison's career is evidence that expertise matters, that knowing the law matters, that pushing back against abuse of power matters. But here's the uncomfortable truth. The Harrison family could push back because they had the knowledge, the resources, and the institutional backing to fight. They knew their rights. They knew the law. They knew who to call. Most people don't. Most people see a badge and assume they have to comply. Most people don't know that an anonymous tip doesn't constitute probable cause. Most people don't have $850,000 settlements and national news coverage. Most people just have violated rights and no recourse. That's the systemic problem. It's not that bad officers exist. It's that the system protects them, enables them, gives them chance after chance, while their victims get settlements and NDAs. 5 complaints in 8 years. That's not bad luck. That's a pattern. And the pattern only broke because Marcus Pemberton finally encountered someone who couldn't be intimidated. Pemberton's career is over. That's consequence. The city paid $850,000. That's accountability. The county passed reforms. That's progress. But none of that brings back the rights violated in the 5 prior incidents. None of that compensates the victims who didn't have the resources to fight back. None of that changes the fact that Pemberton was allowed to keep violating rights for 8 years before the system finally stopped him. The real question is, what changes now? Do we wait for the next Marcus Pemberton to accumulate 5 complaints before we act? Do we wait for the next family to be harassed in their own home? Do we wait for the next viral video to force reform? Or do we build systems that prevent this in the first place? Mandatory body cameras, independent oversight, real consequences for officers who violate policy, public complaint databases, so citizens can see patterns before they become lawsuits. Because if we don't fix the system that protects officers like Pemberton, if we don't create real accountability, then we're just waiting for the next incident. And the next family might not be federal agents. They might just be people trying to eat dinner in peace. Marcus Harrison stood on his porch and said no. He refused to be intimidated. He demanded a warrant. He recorded everything. He called supervisors. He filed a lawsuit. He testified before the county council. He did everything right. But the fact that he had to do all of that, the fact that knowing the law and asserting your rights requires a federal law enforcement credential and 22 years of experience, tells you everything you need to know about the system. You shouldn't need to be an FBI agent to exercise your Fourth Amendment rights. You should just need to be a citizen. That's the standard we should demand. That's the system we should build. And until we do, stories like the Harrison case will keep happening. The only question is whether we'll keep watching them go viral, or whether we'll actually do something about it. If you believe police accountability matters, if you believe constitutional rights should be protected, regardless of who you are, hit subscribe. Let's make sure this isn't just another viral moment that fades away. Because change doesn't happen when we watch. Do you think officers should face personal financial liability for civil rights violations? Or should taxpayers continue to foot the bill for misconduct? Drop your answer below, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories about justice, accountability, and the fight for our rights. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.